Welcome to DevTech 101, aka Black Mantles. I discuss information technology, also known as IT. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the not so sexy thing regarding cybersecurity. But this is basically to help you guys stay safe. But most of you, majority of you on the planet, most people don't even think twice when they're creating their Wi-Fi names for their home Wi-Fi network because they just do it, leave it by default of whatever their wireless router is straight out of the box, or they may come up with something a little bit more personal, which could be their family name. And that's your SSID, what we call in the industry a service set identifier. And what that basically does is name your Wi-Fi network in a way that you're able to recognize it. So when you start to pick up your devices like your phones and your tablets and things like that, you're able to basically select it on the list, click into it, and then move on. But that could be the reason why things such as driving down the street, someone potentially trying to hack different networks, that is a possibility of it being happening. And what does that do? You're at the risk of your personal service set identifiers revealing your personal information at that in regards to your name. And also it can tease the ability for someone who may not like you to basically create like fake hotspots, social engineering, and targeted attacks on there. So before we start getting into it overall, let's get into some of the basic dictionary terms that we need to go over and define SSID. Okay, when I'm defining SSID, as I said, is a service set identifier in simple terms. So that's basically every time that you may go to a coffee shop and you will see the Wi-Fi name being the local coffee shop or McDonald's free Wi-Fi, that name that you see that you click on is called the SSID or service set identifier. And it's basically how your device be able to connect to the internet. And majority of the time for homes, this is broadcast 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. And so it's basically a name tag for your home and your network. And just like a name tag of you basically writing your name on your shirt, it can give away a little bit too much information. Imagine walking in a convention and you got your name tag, right? And you got your company name there. People are going to know who you are without actually coming up to meeting you. They can just look from a distance and actually see it. That's how people are able to pick up your SSID when they're driving down the street, or they may be at a neighbor's house and pick up yours. And believe me, this happens. And I've seen some funny ones over the years with me being in the industry. I've seen some very, very interesting ones. Now, how these can become a common risk is, for example, you may have someone named something like Smith Family Home, could be a good example. And what I would get from that if I saw that is this is the home of the Smith family. So if I literally went to the neighbor's house next door, I can literally ask who lives in the house next door. They might say, oh, it may be somebody named Mike Smith. And so you can start looking for Mike Smith and find out all kinds of interesting information by just what is there. Another good one is when people live in apartments, they tend to buy their own individual routers for their apartments. So you can have like hundreds of apartments. And for example, somebody's going to end up naming theirs apartment 5B network. Well, it may look cool to them, but to somebody who is looking to try to steal their Wi-Fi password and get into the network to use their internet, they'll know it's coming from apartment of 5B. And this is just an example so that you can actually see it here and to make it make more sense. So when you're like looking at this, for example, if you when you look at this like right here, what you see is like house 2 or 1128. So that will mean that whatever street that we're on, house number 1128, house 1125B. So this looks like a type of duplex or something just by me gathering that information. Limited. Mm, depends. That one, somebody's probably trying to be a little bit, vague about it, a little bit sneaky. That's fine. That one's actually okay for limited, but TP link 2FAO. So if a potential hacker wants to get into the network, they basically already know what type of router that you have, and they can start to then do attacks towards that to try to get in. And people, this is not to scare you and say that every time that you turn on your internet, which some of you have probably left it on since it was installed, this is not saying somebody's always outside looking at it. What I'm basically saying is you have to be careful of what you name it. In the event if somebody came around to the neighborhood who may be visiting somebody else, these will be some pretty easy attacks to get into because they can actually see the information right there. And I just want to make sure that you all are protected. Now, the evil twin attack basically is when someone takes and clone the same SSID, and they may put, like, for example, Starbucks underscore Wi-Fi or my home Wi-Fi, or they may put limited Wi-Fi or TP link 2 or 3F AO, and the person who actually owns that may click on the wrong one, start entering their passwords without a warning, and it auto connects or it may be open, and that potential hacker is able to take information. That's what they call an evil twin attack or trap there. Now, some of the things that we talked about in the video, I talked about juice jacking in airports and stuff like that. I've talked about different kinds of cybersecurity things on the channel. And the thing that just drives me crazy is when you're seeing like the headlines out here of people getting, I saw a video once of a guy asked his neighbor if he can break into the network, and he literally opens his garage door because everything is so interconnected. Think about this. Now everybody has wireless cameras that are connected to the internet. They have their stoves, their toasters, their coffee machines, their AC units, their Nest thermostats. All this stuff is connected to the web. So if someone broke into your network because you decided you wanted to have your Wi-Fi name to basically show who you are, you're giving them an easy way in to basically shut down and control all of that stuff. Think about that for a second. Think about if you have some other personal things like smart TVs, like within the house. People can see that. Even people's smart IoT devices, Internet of Things, speakers, people can see that. But when you come up with a name, like when I look at all of these here, the one that it looks okay to me will basically be the limited, because you don't know what type of device they got unless you're really doing some strong penetration testing. But the other ones that's got the house number and the TP links is definitely a no-go. You don't want to do that at all. Now, what I will tell you this, definitely rename your devices. Make sure that your phone is not connecting or automatically connecting to the same type of SSID that may look similar to what you have. Then you can also disable the auto connect function in your phones to prevent it from automatically connecting to lookalike SSIDs as well as there. Make sure you're using encryption on there. And this is all in the manual. So you definitely want to change the default passwords to a lot of your stuff. And sometimes people hide their SSID. That's very optional. There's a give or take. Basically, if you hide it, that means if you have company come over, say for a family gathering, they're going to have to know what the name of your network is. They type it in the network name field, then they type in the password versus leaving it on. They basically see it, and you usually give them the password to type in, and they move forward. And if you're ever in doubt, if you ever pay for a VPN, and I'm not going to give specific VPN names out here because I'm not endorsed by them, so I'm not going to provide their information. But you can simply Google search some VPNs out there. And if you're ever in doubt about this as well, if you have your VPN on and then you connect to the wrong network, you still have some sort of protection there, and you should be okay at least like with that. But don't always trust it. Now, some of the things, never use your personal name, your address, your kids' name, kids' birthdays. Don't use any of about that. Definitely don't put jokes like FBI surveillance van, stuff like that. Don't do that at all. And you definitely don't want to use non-descriptive strings, such as like home 24 net or something like that. Okay. But even funny ones can get flagged. They can definitely provoke attention that you don't want. So make sure that you are not using anything extremely provocative in there. But your SSID is the first impression your network basically broadcasts out into the neighborhood and the outside world. And so definitely keep it boring, keep it private, make sure that you are, paying attention to what you're actually using, and keep the hackers guessing so that they don't break into your equipment. And if you ever have seen any crazy names out there as you're trying to connect to Wi-Fi, maybe at a actual hotel or a coffee shop, definitely post them down in the comments below, because I definitely want to hear some of the funny names. I always get tickled when I'm traveling and I see a Wi-Fi name that doesn't quite make sense. I may kind of chuckle, but I know it's something that's crazy. But definitely post them down in the comments below. Like, listen, subscribe to the channel. DivTech 101, aka Black Mantle. Look forward to bringing more content to you all soon. Stay sharp, stay secure, subscribe for more tech with purpose, only on DivTech 101.